And like it or not, your Facebook profile will look different tomorrow. The social network will begin to roll out its new timeline interface to all users who haven't opted in yet. Your timeline shows all your Facebook activity from the moment you started using the social network, a historical portrait painted in pictures, posts, and status updates. It's the latest big move for a company that's come a long way since its own timeline began just 8 years ago. And joining me now is one of Facebook's original employees. Chang Palihapitiya left the company to start a venture fund called the Social Plus Capital Partnership. He's made investments in startups ranging from cybersecurity to secondary markets. I got your name right.
It's amazing.
Again.
It's a happy new year to me.
I practiced. Okay, so since we last spoke, you've invested in everything from a Russian hotel booking service, an anti-spam company, a company that helps diabetics keep track of their vital signs. What's the hidden theme here?
So some of those are actually historic investments, which we kept stealth until the company was more comfortable talking about it. But the bigger theme of what I'm focused on and the team at the Social Capital Partnership is focused on are things that we think can reshape basically the balance of power. So when you think about where the world is today, whether it's people talking about political inequity or financial inequity, there are systems that actually cause this inequity. And so things like healthcare, education, and financial services are at a point in time that we think are ready to be disrupted with technology and with software.
So you're looking for industries that haven't been disrupted yet. So social would be off the table.
Well, I mean, I think there are always going to be really interesting internet consumer things, but if you're asking me, is the next Facebook exist today, I suspect that it isn't. And having worked at a company like Facebook and understanding those dynamics, I'd rather focus my energy on areas that frankly need more help and have, in honesty, trillion-dollar opportunities.
Now, you hesitated on an investment in Airbnb, a hot, buzzy startup out there, because the founders were getting a big cash out and employees were not. How did that ultimately play out?
I mean, I think, it was an unfortunate situation that the whole thing got public, but I think it's a great company. It's doing well. It just was, for me, not the right investment based on sort of the structure of the deal, and I think that's really all it was.
You've said yourself that employees are entitled to liquidity, and you exercised, your own Facebook shares. You sold them on the secondary markets, and that enabled you to become an investor. If this becomes commonplace, how do you see that changing how companies grow and how motivated employees are?
So I think this is actually the most important dynamic that's happening in Silicon Valley. So the fight for technical talent is really high, right? And the ability to find really great employees is difficult. And so ultimately, I think we're moving to a world where the ability to sell equity, so for example, a company to be able to tell a potential recruit, hey, in 2 years, you'll be able to sell a part of your vested holdings, will become the trump card. And then, the free bagels and the free drinks are important and kind of interesting, but fundamentally are at the edges. And what people will really make a distinction about is not just the mission and the vision of the company, but also, will I be really compensated for the value that I contribute?
Do you think this means fewer companies will bother to go public?
I think that you're probably going to enter a period of time where it becomes very ambiguous what it means to be public or private. And so what isn't going to change, though, is the desire for people to be rewarded for their contributions. Investors, employees, executives, founders. And so systems and marketplaces that create transparency around that, I think, have a lot of value. So
taking a look at Facebook in particular, we know it's on the horizon, the IPO coming in the next few months or so, but only seemingly to comply with SEC regulations, only because Facebook has to go public at this point. Was it right for Facebook to wait so long? Was it fair to employees?
Well, I think that's an unfair characterization, because I think there's something about rewarding all the people that have been working there for as long as they have. And so, ultimately, that's a decision that I wasn't a part of making. So I don't really know what the ultimate framework was. But I think that what they're doing, when they decide to do it, will be a great thing for everybody.
Mark has said it's in part to reward employees. And, of course, they join with that expectation that is going to come at some point. What are you expecting from the Facebook IPO? How do you see it impacting the broader startup ecosystem? Do you think it will?
It's so fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to do so much to validate being technical. Imagine like young people now will look at a person like Mark Zuckerberg, who becomes, and already is in many ways, a cultural icon. And so the value of being a coder, the value of taking risk, the value of sort of sticking to a vision, all of that, when you see it get rewarded, I think has huge ramifications. And then on top of that, all the employees being able to buy houses, send their kids to college, fund other startups, it's just going to be great for the whole ecosystem.
Now, I asked the same question about Apple earlier in the show. Do you see any signs of Facebook fatigue down the line? Do you think Facebook can always count on these 800 million users continuing to grow?
I mean, I think no company can ever count on being able to sit on its laurels and have, your users just idly stand by, because, the beauty about technology is that it's creatively destructive, right? And so as long as it continues to keep setting the pace, then I think it's going to continue to grow, which it is. And so it's great.
Well, we're going to be keeping close watch on the Facebook IPO and your continuing investments. Thanks so much, Chamath Palihapitiya, former Facebook VP and founder of the Social Plus Capital Partnership. Thanks for joining us.